or deciding to check out, so that 5 or 10 years later you can say, you know what, I never cast a ballot until I was 20. Right? There's a pattern here. There's a pattern. Where we, again in my campaign, and we ran for the 1st Congressional District, Massachusetts, and I'll describe it to you, because I know many of you are from different areas of the country. The 1st Congressional District is in Western Massachusetts. It's all of Hampden County, which is in Springfield where we are. It's all of Berkshire County, which is up in Pittsfield, near Albany, right on the border of Albany, New York. It's parts of Hampshire County, which are some of the smaller towns outside of Northampton, but it doesn't include Northampton or Amherst. It's parts of Franklin County, which is outside of Greenfield, but it doesn't include Greenfield. And it's parts of Worcester County, which is lower, doesn't include Worcester itself. That's 3,000 square miles. Right? That is a large district, 87 cities and towns. And lots and lots and lots of mileage and issues to discuss and people that we've met. And so when we look back to where we spent the most time, the folks that we gave priority to speaking to, including the super voters and the non-traditional voters, we recognize, and I was telling Kevin earlier, that as our numbers are coming in, we recognized a 3 to 6% increase in voter turnout. So those were the people that had been counted, discounted, dismissed, and when we made connections with them, they turned up. Because otherwise, they would have been not throwing in the ballot for this race, for that primary. So with education, with time, with love, with commitment, and with resources is how we bring the entire community into the fold of civic engagement. And I'm really proud of having played a role in that. So why don't we do this? What questions or observations do you all have? What are you all thinking about? Yes.
So, hi, I'm Cameron. So today, if you don't know, is the anniversary of the foundation of the Black Panther Party in Oakland, amongst, underserved, underrepresented Black people in Oakland. What steps do you think need to be taken by Black folks and brown folks, even just like oppressed white folks like the poorest among us, to engage and to force elected officials and powerful people in our country to acknowledge the problems of people who are specific actions need to be taken?
I think that's a great question. And what you hit on is something so sensitive that I talk about, but I'm always a little concerned that it could be too deep to talk about publicly. And that is that for many people in many of our communities, there is systemic poverty, systemic racism, systemic misogyny, and in my opinion, that is a form of oppression. Right? Sit with that for a second. It is a form of oppression. And so, why don't people activate to do these things that we should be doing and holding elected officials? Because a lot of people are just trying to survive, right? How many people is hustling, holding down one job, a part-time? It's hard. It is hard. So the first thing that we have to do is recognize that some of us, and at different points of our lives, are in a system that we are fighting very hard just to keep our heads above water, right? And forgive ourselves for that. That is the first thing that we do, is acknowledge that for many of us it is hard. And we be compassionate and kind to ourselves and to each other from that perspective. And then the second thing that we do is that we do it. We have to push by and push through these barriers and these obstacles in order to save ourselves. And that is us as a community. I don't care what demographic you are, what you have in your bank account, what you look like. The stories that we are telling, the experiences that we are talking about, hit every one of our families or us at some point. Let's not act like this is owned by one demographic. And then we decide what issues and where our values are, and we push and we advocate for them. And that's what you do, whether you're black or brown, whether you're white, whether you're a member of the LGBT community, whether you are rich, whether you are poor, whether you are a student or a high school dropout who had to leave because your financial aid didn't come in by the second semester, right? And then you give yourself permission to join in community with others who have like-minded goals. There's so many groups there. There are so many nonprofit groups serving our community. There are many elected officials. There are groups on campus. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be everywhere. But you stay in community with people who have a vision, who are positive, and whose values align with yours. And you work to get it done. And it may change. Like right now, one of the things that I saw on the campaign trail was a push for single-payer health care. And I like to say there's two parts to that. So the single-payer health care was a big issue, but also was reducing pharmaceutical costs. Right? Those are two things. And that is a universal issue. Like people worry about that. People worry about whether or not they're going to have health insurance if they get laid off, if they graduate and they're 26 and they don't have a job with health insurance. Like we worry about these things. We worry about whether or not we can afford the EpiPen when now it's 6 times what it cost just 3 years ago. Right? I worry about my mother and her long-lasting inhaler. She and my dad just hit retirement age, and why do I hear them at the kitchen table discussing whether or not they can hold off buying her inhaler, which was $300, or do they need to put it on a credit card while they're waiting for all their retirement benefits to come in? And my parents have worked all their lives, so why are we having this conversation about whether or not my mother can get her long-lasting asthma inhaler? But it's not only happening on our kitchen table, it is happening everywhere, right? And how are our elected officials dealing with the policy that influences how much we are charging and how much we are charged for the darn EpiPen, right? Okay, that's true.
Tahirah, first I just want to say to you publicly what I said to you privately, which is that I was really energized and animated by your candidacy. I thought it was great for the region and for the country. And just wanted to ask you, having had that experience, did you come away from it more or less hopeful about this day of our democracy and why?
More hopeful. More hopeful. In the days following the primary election, I personally felt really disappointed, deeply disappointed, and I wondered if I had let people down. Because our campaign was highly spirited, very electrifying, and gave people a sense of hope that things would be different. And I wondered if I internalized, I wondered if my failing would put people in a worse condition than they were in terms of their optimism and their hope. And I'll tell you a little story. I did a series of meetings with editorial boards from newspapers around the district. And I sat in one editorial board meeting, and one of the editors said to me, well, you have so many people who believe in you. If you lose, will this set them back? And I said, no, because you can't unorganize us, you can't demoralize us, and you can't take away our energy. And so as a force, we're going to continue to move in a space of positivity and mobility. So I continue to feel hopeful about the state of democracy, because when I look at our election, our campaign, we needed to raise about $400,000 to have a viable campaign. We raised just over $100,000. We were novice, we were volunteers, and still, with 9 months on officially on the campaign trail, Camille told you I traveled for a year, but for 9 of those months we were actually activated as a campaign. Only 9 months, we secured 30% of the vote in a community that is one of the whitest districts in the nation.